Hello. Well, this was supposed to be the video where we connect up the normal Hobby King receiver to the multi-Wii board and take it for a little fly before repurposing the transmitter for the Arduino stuff. But unfortunately I've been having quite a bit of trouble getting this to work. The problem was basically that this throttle doesn't seem to be doing anything. So I connected everything up the first time and everything did actually work just fine except for the throttle. So I was getting proper inputs on the pitch and the roll and the yaw, and the switches were working, the dial was actually working as well, and just the throttle was just doing nothing at all. It was as if it was down at zero the whole time. And I noticed on the product listing page for this, there's some comments down here, and this guy here says exactly the same thing. The throttle channel number 3 is not working. Is there any way to reprogram, reset, blah blah? So this dude here recommends to rebind the receiver. I hadn't actually bound it myself when I got it. It seemed to be bound perfectly well when it arrived. It was only that throttle channel that wasn't working. So anyway, I decided to try rebinding it, and unfortunately, after doing that, now I find that all of the sticks are doing nothing. It's as if they are just permanently right in the middle center position there. So unfortunately for this video, I can't show you any flying using this, but what I'll do is I'll just show you how to connect it up as it's supposed to work. And I think that's about as far as I can go with that in this video, unfortunately. There is, of course, the possibility that if I had the programming cable that I could connect it to the computer and maybe fix it like that. And I was looking around on the net, and you use the trainer cable plug there, which is not going to focus, and you use that to connect to USB to your computer and program it. I didn't order one of those cables, and to be honest, I don't think I can be bothered waiting 2 weeks for it to arrive. And I also can't be bothered making one myself, because, as I said earlier, I only really bought this to get the joysticks and some other conveniences like switches and dials and things like that. So I'm still happy with this for $25, even if it never works with this receiver at all. It's just a bit annoying that I couldn't quite finish off the series of videos as I had intended. So yeah, let me get on with it. Let's look at how we connect this stuff up. So on the receiver here, first, sorry, one more thing I should mention. There's a pretty good overview of this transmitter and receiver on the flight test forums here. You can probably find that by searching on Google through that. I'll put the link in the description anyway. And this is quite good. It's got a bunch of photos and shows you all kinds of things. So yeah, take a look at that as well. Anyway, so on the receiver here, the row of pins on the far right, as I'm holding it here, are the negative rail. The pins in the middle are positive, and the pins right on the inside on the left are the actual signals for each channel. So we only really need one of these sets of negative and positive to be given power, and we can do that from, if I just grab hold of this, and we're going to need some proper focusing, camera, so get with it. So as you may remember, or you can probably see there from the red and the black, we have negative, positive, and then signal on these sets of 3 rows here as well. So you're going to need, if you just have single female to female jumper wires like this, you'll need 6. I'm going to use 3 of those and one of these, which is kind of a servo cable connector thing. It's just a little bit more convenient to do the power connection. So I'm going to power it by putting this into any channel. I'm just going to choose channel 1 so that my brown is on the negative there, and that will go into here like this, and that's enough to give us power. So at this point we can just do a little check. I also have the FTDI connector attached to here so we can get our 5 volts from the computer. So when I plug this in here we should get some power, and you'll notice nothing's happening on the receiver at the moment, but if I switch the transmitter on we get the light. So this is how it was when I got it, and it seems to be binding just fine. If you turn the transmitter off after a second, that light will go off. So yeah, that just something you can check, just make sure you're getting some signs of life. And then for the other 3 wires, I found that this was the arrangement. So these D2, D4, D5 and D6, these are the pins on the multi-Wii there. And I'll just connect these up. Hold on a second. Actually, let me show you. So, oops, get that out of the way. So you'll find D2 and D4 are over there on the single rail. That's D2 and D4. There's also D5 and D6 there as well. So you can take all of them from there, but there is also a D5 and D6 down here, which is a little bit more convenient for this triple plug. So I'll just connect up those. And for these ones, like I say, we don't need to have any more power connections, so for these ones I'm just going to put all of them on the inside rail there like that. Hope that's clear. So we don't need the black and the red rail anymore. So let me just plug all these in. So as far as connections goes, that's all you need, just those 6 wires there. Now for the software, the multi-Wii software that is, let's just have a quick look at that, because it's a tiny bit different to what I was doing earlier with the PPM input. So I've already done this, but I'm just going to take a quick look at the multi-Wii sketch again. And as before, we'll look in the config tab, and with the Arduino system we needed to change only 3 lines in this file, and when we're using a normal receiver like this one we actually only needed to change 2 lines, and I've already changed them here. You can see I uncommented this define quad X, and then somewhere down here there's another one, define HK multi-Wii SE version 2, so uncomment this line as well. So that's all you need to change to use this standard receiver type. So I've already uploaded that onto the flight controller here. So let's take a look. Let me just switch everything off so we can get back to normal. No, I just wanted to reset it, so turn it back on again. Now if we open up the multi-Wii configuration software again, and we connect to that port and click on Start, we should see that we get everything is okay there. Now I haven't switched the transmitter on yet, so let me just place things a little bit better. So the transmitter's off, and you can see that all of the values for the first 4 channels are on 1500, so they're not getting any information from the radio yet. Now when I switch the transmitter on, you'll see those, at least if I've got everything connected properly, you should see those change. Yours not changing, why is that? However, oh, I've put your into the wrong plug, that's right. But the point is, no matter how I move the sticks here, the radio is not sending any useful information to the quadcopter. And I actually opened this up and put my little cheap-ass oscilloscope here. It's a continuation of the video that I made a couple of months ago. And I found that the problem is actually in here, because you can put that onto the ppm pin inside the actual transmitter module, and I could see that it's sending exactly this information here. So it's not a problem in the receiver at all. It's a problem in the transmitter that I think started when I used it to bind. So that's about as far as I'm going to try and go with this. I'm actually going to wait a little bit longer before I start cutting any wires inside here, just in case somebody sees this video and gives me some clues that maybe I can fix this without having to order a cable from Hobby King and wait 2 weeks to get it, or make my own cable, I guess. But like I say, I only really wanted to get the joysticks for this. So for the rest of this video, I think I'll just open this up for you and we'll take a little look inside and see what's in there just before we get to doing any soldering and Arduinoizing of it. Oh, just before I do that, another thing I wanted to mention was it's quite convenient that there's a little plug on here for charging the batteries inside the transmitter. And if you picked up one of these kind of LiPo or other battery type chargers, you probably will have got a bunch of things like this with it. And if you got the same one, well, you'll definitely have got these as well. But if you it's a little bit of a roundabout way to do it, but you can plug this guy into here, and then you can connect these two up like that, and that will give you the same kind of plug that you can use to charge the transmitter with. So that's a 2.1mm power plug in there. Needs to be off, of course, and I found that it didn't like to do it straight away, but if you try twice in quick succession, it lets itself get started. So the way you would do it here is to select nickel metal hydride. Of course, this is assuming you have nickel metal hydride batteries in there. Don't do this with just regular dry cells. So I have a bunch of these batteries in here. These are quite good batteries actually. A lot of people like the inner loops, and I like those too, but these are as good, if not maybe even a tiny bit better from my limited experience. Anyway, about the same price, unfortunately. Anyway, so that's a bunch of nickel metal hydride batteries in there, and I bought those all at the same time, so they should be all pretty much the same charge. If you have a bunch of batteries that you bought at separate times, it might not be such a great way to do it, but if you want to do this, you should make sure that they're all about the same level of charge when they start off. So anyway, back to this. Yeah, so select nickel metal hydride. These batteries are 2400 milliamp hour batteries, and I want to charge them at 1/10 of a C, which would be 0.24 amps. So I'm just going to go a little bit less than that at 0.2 amps. And if I hold this down to start, short error? What? Never seen that before. Hold on. Usually it says connection break. Short error, what? Let's give that another try. Yeah. Okay, that's better. Connection break is what it always says. And then I just do that again. And if you do it again quite quickly after that first connection break message, the second time it manages to succeed in starting off. And I think this may be something to do with there being a little diode between the terminals just behind the battery plug. Actually, I'm not too sure why, but I just tried it twice and it works every time. So now we can see the total battery voltage of that battery pack inside there. And I like to charge this to about 1.4 volts per cell. You can't see anything on the cell voltage, of course. Anyway, but that's up to you how you charge it. I just thought I'd mention that because it's quite a handy way to do it. Okay, this is what it looks like when you open it up. There's a little plug here which is, you can just pull that right off when you take the back off, which is quite convenient. It just plugs on there. It's just oops, more convenient than having that flapping around and attached. So the little diode that I was talking about before is just there. Come on, a little D3 there. So if you're having trouble with trying to charge using the battery charger like I was just doing, and you're feeling particularly badass, you might want to just solder a short across that diode, and I think that would stop the problems that I was occasionally having. Then again, maybe not. I'm not really sure. Anyway, so the first thing to notice here is we have some pretty decent joysticks, and one of them, of course, this being mode 2, the stick on the left is staying where you leave it vertically. And this is actually pretty easy to change over if you don't like it being on the left. You want this one to do that. What you can do is, it's just this little thing here that's stopping it from moving. Oh, and having focus troubles here, aren't we? Alright, there we go. So it's just this little metal tab that's giving it that sort of notched feel. Don't know if you can hear that. But you can take that little metal tab off pretty easy. It's just one screw. So you would take that off there and you would put it on the opposite corner over there, because there's another notched piece here, like that. So you'd screw the metal tab on there. And then from this side, there's a spring, which hopefully you can see around about in the middle of the screen there at the moment. Let me just get that out of the way. So there's a spring in there, and you'll need to unhook that spring at the bottom, and then that will let it's all black, it doesn't focus on, and the lighting is very hard. But anyway, you can see that the spring is just hooked on the top of this lever here. So once you take that spring off, this lever that goes over here will be able to lift right up, and then you'll be able to slip the other end of it off this little pin. So you would take the lever and that spring and bring them over this side, and then there's the same kind of thing here, but it's kind of in reverse. So you would put the spring at this end and the lever would go onto the pin there. I'm not going to do that because this is set up the way that I like to use it already. But it's pretty easy to do, so it doesn't really matter if you've accidentally ordered the wrong one. You can just change it over in a few minutes. So this is the actual radio module there, and we may even be able to focus in on those pin labels. Okay, we can't. But the one on the far right here is labeled ppm, and that was where I was putting my cheap-ass oscilloscope to check what it was actually sending over the radio link. So this radio module would actually be reusable for other Arduino projects now that you have a ppm outputting Arduino sketch that I explained in one of my earlier videos. You could use this radio module to do it if you wanted to. What else is there to explain in here? Well, I'm not sure if I need to make a video on how to set up your Arduino in here, because it's very, very basic, and I did upload a video explaining how I made my cheap-ass transmitter from scratch, the one with the, it's just like a couple of pieces of wood stuck together. And I think at the beginning of that video I said it was mostly irrelevant, but not really, because all of the electronic circuitry of it is the same as what you would need if you wanted to repurpose a box like this. And it's actually pretty simple. You should be able to see sticking out right in your face here. This is the connections for the potentiometers there. So what I did with my other transmitter, this one here, which this is my main transmitter that I've used with my Arduino Pro Mini and stuff in there. So what I did with that was I just cut the center wire there, which is the wiper for the pots, and I just left the positive and negative wires on there because they give you, in this case, they give you 5 volts. I rewired my other transmitter so that they give me 3.3 volts. But 5 volts is not so bad either. Actually, no, 3.3 volts is more convenient, isn't it? Actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, you might want to just cut all of these wires here that go to each pot. Well, don't cut them here, of course. Cut them way back at the other end. And then you can hook those up to your Arduino 3.3 volt positive rail, and then you can use the output from those going into your analog inputs to use these joystick values. Is this clear? Not a very good explanation, is it? But I think if you've seen the other video that I made about making the transmitter from scratch, it should be clear. And then, of course, if you want some more analog inputs for other things, we have another set of 2 quite nice potentiometers actually on the top there. And they're not going to focus either. Come on. Yeah, alright. These switches are a bit nasty. Not the greatest switches there. But it's strange that these pots here are actually quite nice. I really like them. They feel quite nice and smooth, and I don't know how much you can tell about the quality of a pot just by turning it, but they feel nice. And what else can we say about this? Yeah, I don't know. I think that's about all I had to say, really. So I might just wait. Like I say, I'll wait a little bit and see if anybody sees this video and has any clever hints for me about how to get this working with the normal receiver. And if not, I'll just go ahead and say goodbye to my wooden box transmitter, and I'll bring all of the electronics from it into here so that this can be properly Arduinoized.